Hey, this is Leo for Actualized.org, and this video is part of the Blueprint series, over 100 of the greatest personal development concepts of all time. And this concept that we're covering today is what I call top 5 feelings. So let's cover what this is and why it's important, and then go into some of the details here, because this is a really important concept. So top 5 feelings, what is it in a nutshell? Basically, top 5 feelings means that you're going to sit down and you are going to articulate the top 5 feelings that you want to consistently be feeling in your life on a hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute, day-to-day basis. You're going to articulate that, and then you're going to look and ask yourself how you can set up your circumstances so that you're getting more of those feelings. That's basically what this concept is. It's pretty simple. As for why it's important, it's extremely important. The reason it's important is because we, as a society, are always about chasing something, and it's usually about chasing bling, right? We are out there and we're looking for something that we want. So when we're setting goals for ourselves, there's just this tendency to set a goal for material things. And even if they're not material things, they're still things, and they're not feelings. And what ends up happening is that if you are chasing things, whether material or even spiritual, you end up getting disappointed because you end up getting that thing, but then you're still not fulfilled. And that's because what you really care about is how you feel, but what you're chasing is not a feeling. And so there's a disconnect there, because what happens is that you're implicitly going after feelings, and you assume that the thing that you're going after is going to give you that hit of feeling that you want, but it doesn't. So it's important to get that issue resolved right off the bat, so you don't spend months and potentially years chasing after goals that ultimately are not going to make you feel the way you want to feel. So let's go into the body of this concept and really talk about what I mean here. So ultimately, look, people set goals for themselves, right? So what are some common goals that people set? Very common goal, to look better, to lose weight. Another common goal, to start a business. Another common goal, to have $1 million in your bank account. To have a nice car and a nice house. To have a nice relationship, to have cool friends, to live in Hawaii. Whatever your goal is, all those goals are great, and you should be setting goals like that for yourself. I have nothing against materialistic goals. And there are even kind of more spiritual and abstract goals. So maybe the goal of doing more meditation, or the goal of keeping a gratitude journal, or the goal of stopping negative thinking and stopping judging and criticizing other people. So these are nice goals too. I'd say that the spiritual goals are one step up above the purely materialistic goals, but there is the next level, and that is looking at how you actually want to feel. So the key question is here, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel consistently? Right now, I want you to really get yourself to think about how you feel on a typical day. You know, you wake up in the morning, you go through your routine, you have breakfast, you go to work, you do that, lunchtime comes by, after lunchtime you do some more work, then you come home, you spend time with your family, or whatever it is that you're doing, whatever that routine is for you on a typical day. I want you to look at it and see, what are you feeling actually there? And how happy are you with those feelings? And then, of course, the next question is, how do you want it to be, right? Because if what you're feeling on a consistent basis, every hour, in your body, I'm talking about how you actually feel in your body and in your mind, if you're not getting the kind of emotions that you want, then the question is, why is that? And what kind of emotions do you want to be getting? And those external goals that you're setting for yourself, that house, that money, that business, that relationship, is it ultimately going to get you what you want? So when we're designing your goals, I always want to track it back to what's core. And what's core is how you want to feel. And for me, that's the top 5 feelings. And what I have is I have a feelings survey that I kind of designed myself. It's nothing fancy, it's very simple. Just a couple of questions, really 4 questions that you're going to ask yourself that will help you identify this. All right, and I'm going to list it down below in the article, and I'm actually going to have a little worksheet that you can download and go through this exercise. But what I want here is I want for you to go through this survey and figure out what are the most important feelings for you. Because when I was going through this, it was a real revelation for me to understand that if I want fulfillment and if I want my goals to match up with fulfillment, that means that when I'm actually successful and I think that I'm successful, I'm also going to actually be fulfilled, which is a rare thing because a lot of times people will accomplish a goal but still be unfulfilled. Then I got to really understand how I want to feel. And for me, I sat down and I thought about it, and the feelings that I came up with were really a list of few, and I came up with about 7 of them, and I'm still trying to figure out which ones are the most important for me, and I'm going to narrow them down to 5. That's what I want you to do. For me, my list of feelings are, I want to feel optimistic, I want to feel proud, I want to feel energetic, I want to feel conscious, I want to feel confident, I want to feel strong, and I want to feel tranquil. So those are just some of the feelings personally that for me are important. Like when I imagine the ideal day for me, if I could have all those feelings and I could feel that consistently 24/7, or at least the times that I'm awake, then to me that's like the ideal life. And so that's it for me. And I had to sit down and I had to go through a whole list of different feelings to find the ones that resonated the most with me. And those might change. You might get a better sense of how to articulate that. So I just want to throw that out there as an example so you know something concrete that you can use to then abstract away and get your specifics. So another list that I'm going to give you, I'm just going to throw out some feelings so that you have a sense of what I mean by feelings. So all those that I mentioned, you might mention other feelings. You might want to be happy. Happiness might be important to you. Or you might want to feel fun. Maybe you want to feel adventurous. You like feeling adventurous. Maybe you want to feel bold. Maybe you want to feel very present and in the moment. Maybe that's what makes you really satisfied. Maybe you want to feel excited. I know excitement is definitely a big one for me. Actually, I think it is on my list, and I might have forgotten to mention it, but excitement is a big one. For me, also that feeling of high consciousness, I love that. I also love having the feeling of creative contribution. So for me, that dovetails with pride. That feeling of pride that I get when I know that I've been doing something good, and I've been sharing that with others. I've been making other people feel good, and I've just been contributing. That gives me a sense of pride, or pride in the fact that I'm living my life well, or I'm living in alignment with my values. So that's another feeling. So these are just some ideas. You can probably go and make a really long list of items and then go down and kind of cross out the ones that are not that important to you and circle the ones that are very important to you. In fact, maybe I'll create a worksheet like that where you can go through there and just pick off a list. But you can also come up with your own. And basically you want to winnow that down to a list of 5, right? And this is how you want to consistently feel. Maybe you want to think back into the past about some of the best times in your life, some of the best memories that you have, because what that will trigger in you is memories of feelings. In fact, if you do it vividly enough, you could probably rekindle those feelings at least a little bit within yourself. You can get a taste for it. What are the times when you were the happiest in your life? What were you feeling then? What were the circumstances? Was it you spending time with your family and you felt a certain sense of connection? Or maybe you were feeling love in an intimate relationship. Or maybe you were at work and you were killing it and you were doing something bold and challenging and you were on your edge and you liked that sense of exhilaration. Or maybe you were skydiving and you had that sense of adventure and doing something risky and crazy, and you like that kind of feeling where you've got that adrenaline rush and that's what turns you on. So this is going to be different for everybody, of course. I want you to think back about your own best memories and think about what triggers the most fond memories for you, the most fond feelings, and then jot down some notes on that. But the survey, so let's go into the feeling survey. This feeling survey is going to have really 4 questions. The first question is, what do you want to feel consistently? And these are going to be 5 things. I really want you to be concise here and just say 5. Give me 5 words, right? So it might be something like excitement. I want to feel excitement. I want to feel proud, I want to feel adventurous, and I want to feel calm, and I want to feel strong. Something like that. Come up with a list. If you can't decide quite on what you want to feel, start somewhere. Start right now. This is usually a process that requires some introspection, and it's not going to just happen in one sitting. You're going to sit down, you're going to massage this list, but you want to start somewhere. So you start with a rough draft, and then you can get it to be better in the future. But start with a rough draft. The second question that you want to ask yourself, and you should be writing down these answers as you're asking these questions, is what feelings don't you want to feel? This one is probably pretty easy for you. Again, go through your current day and ask yourself, if you're not very fulfilled already, then this will be very easy. Go through your typical day, your typical week, and ask yourself, what kind of feelings give you the most stress, and what kind of feelings do you really avoid the most and that you really hate, right? Maybe you really don't like feeling alone. Maybe that one is one that you really don't like. Maybe you really don't like feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Maybe you don't like feeling angry. Maybe you don't like feeling sad. Maybe you don't like feeling, what else is out there? Feeling other feelings. Maybe you don't like feeling frustrated, whatever it is for you. So think about that. That should be a pretty easy list. Come up with, again, I'd say keep it to five short words for the feelings that you don't want. That's going to be the second part of this feeling survey. And then once you have the 5 that you do want and the 5 that you don't want, then the third part of the survey is I want you to go through and I want you to rate yourself on each of the positive 5 ones and the negative 5 ones. So rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being that you're not feeling this right now very consistently throughout your week, and 10 being that you're feeling this feeling all the time. So as an example, let's say you want to feel proud, and that's one of your positive ones, right? How proud are you feeling throughout the week on a consistent basis? Remember, we're talking about consistency. So the more consistently you feel this, the more fulfilled you're going to be, and basically the happier you're going to be with your life as a whole. So do you feel proud every day? Do you feel proud only for 5 minutes a week? If you only feel proud very, very rarely, then give yourself a 1. If you feel proud all the time, basically multiple times throughout the day, every single day, if you're feeling that, then give yourself a 9 or a 10. That means you've got that one nailed down really well. Go through and do that with all your 5 positive ones, and then go ahead and do the same with the negative ones. So let's say that you don't like feeling stressed. Well, how much stress do you have right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Do you have a stress every single hour of every single day? Then give yourself a really high score. If you are not feeling stressed very often, then give yourself a low score, 1 or 2, or something in between. And do that for the rest of the negative ones. So this is going to be a check-in, because right now you probably have not sat down and quantified really what you're actually feeling in your life, both the positive and the negative. And until you do this, I found with myself, this can be very enlightening to do this, because right now you're going through your day and you're not quite sure why. You just have some sort of dissatisfaction. You're not happy with your life. You think that you could have more, but it's difficult to pinpoint exactly why that is. You don't know the causes. When you sit down and you look at the feelings, all of a sudden it becomes pretty clear. You get a stark picture. You're like, oh, I'm stressed all the time. That's stress at a 10. And you know what? I'm feeling lonely all the time too. And beyond that, I'm always angry too. So yeah, if you're feeling angry and stressed and lonely all the time, and then on the flip side, you're not feeling the feelings that you want, you're not feeling tranquil, you're not feeling proud, you're not feeling excited the way you want, then yeah, you're going to be dissatisfied with your life. And it's going to be obvious where exactly the dissatisfaction is happening. So that's the third part of this survey. And then, of course, the final part is really the solutions part. And this is asking yourself the key question, which is, what changes now can you actually make in your life? Practical changes, habitual changes that will increase the positive feelings and decrease the negative feelings. What is that for you? It's going to be totally different for everybody. So, pride, if you want to feel proud, for me personally, pride is tied to my sense of work. So for me, I feel proud when I have a strong work day and I put in, I give my work day the best that I can and I produce some good results. And so for me, for example, when I did this exercise that I wasn't getting enough sense of pride, what I found was that was happening on the days when I really wasn't putting in a good work effort and I wasn't really producing anything. I wasn't creating anything. For me, being creative is very important. It's tied to my sense of pride. It's tied to my sense of fulfillment in life. So that means that I need to go out now and try to rework my schedule a little bit so that I have more time to actually focus in and do the work. I personally find that when I have a frantic day and I have to do a million different things and I'm always multitasking, I can't focus and actually produce something that day, I don't feel proud. I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. And therefore, I don't feel very fulfilled that day. Whereas on the flip side, when I do have that moment where I can sit down and just focus and concentrate for a good 5-hour stretch and get something produced, get an article written, shoot a video, read a nice book, whatever, do some journaling, do some meditation, when I can do some of that stuff, then I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel proud, I feel fulfilled. And so for me, it became really obvious when I did this exercise that, wow, I need to spend more time focusing and not doing so much multitasking. And that was one way that I could improve the point about pride. And I did that for the rest of my feelings. Excitement. How could I get more excitement in my life? I felt like I wasn't getting that much excitement. So for me, that meant I have to do maybe some things that are a little bit out of the ordinary, that are out of my routine. Maybe I should be taking more trips on the weekends. I like taking trips, but I usually don't have enough time to do them because I'm running through my routine and I'm so busy with work and this and that and the stuff that I need to be following up on. Sometimes it becomes a little too tedious and I feel like my life is just going down a very kind of straight-laced trajectory. Sometimes I need to switch that up and do something exciting, something that's off my schedule. And so I find that when I get that sense of excitement, it's when I'm doing something new. So getting out there and doing more activities, doing more new activities with my friends, doing more activities by myself, maybe going out there and doing things that are not at the top of my goals list. Because the stuff that's up at the top of my goals list, I do that all the time, and I'm usually keeping up with it. But there's also little minor things at the bottom of my list, like maybe cooking a new recipe, or learning to play a new instrument, or maybe reading a book that's not related to my work. Usually most of the books I read are personal development related, but maybe reading a book that's like a biography or something more tangential, something a little bit more adventurous and different. So for me, those are a couple of examples of the positive ones. And negative examples, the stuff that I don't like feeling, I definitely don't like feeling stressed. I don't like feeling angry. And so I'll look and I'll see in my weekly schedule, I'll just see, where am I feeling angry? What's causing me to feel angry? What's causing me to feel stressed? And therefore, from this list, by asking that key final question on this survey, what changes can I actually make to increase the positive and decrease the negative feelings? That is where you get your action plan, because you're going to get I recommend just doing 1 point of action that you can take on each one of these. 1 point on each positive feeling, so you're going to have 5 points there, and then 5 action points on each negative feeling. And then that's your list. That basically tells you what your goals should be. Now look at how the goals that were generated with this process are different than the goals that would have been generated if you just sat down and I said, what are the 10 dream things that you want in your life? You're probably going to say a nice house, certain amount of money in your bank account, etc., right? But here it's going to be different. These goals are going to be a little bit more abstract, but they're also going to really connect with your fulfillment. This process guarantees that the connection is there. Because you know what? Now I know that if I spend more time focusing on work, I'm going to feel proud. That's going to increase my fulfillment directly. It's not going to be some indirect relationship. And also I know that if I go out and I take a road trip during the weekend and do something new, do something a little bit of adventurous, that's going to make me feel excited, and therefore that's going to directly impact my fulfillment. Direct relationship. And same thing with the negative ones. So that's exactly what I want for you. Is I want you to generate this list of goals and see how they compare. See if there are any surprises on this list. I know when I did this exercise, there were definitely a couple of surprises, and I immediately saw that, if I just focus and just pick 1 point, I don't even need to implement all 10 points. If I just pick one of these action items and I go out and I shift the following week, and I do things just a little bit differently so that I'm looking and implementing that one point, that I can already see how much better I'm going to feel about myself. And therefore, I'm going to be happier. So this is a process really of increasing happiness in your life. Pretty cool, huh? It's a powerful process. Very simple. Don't underestimate its impact. So go through, do this feeling survey. Once you do it, you're going to have the top 5 feelings. And what I want you to do, if you're following along with the blueprint and you have a personal mission statement, as of course you should, write down these top 5 feelings in your personal mission statement, because this is something that's going to stick with you really for the rest of your life. You want to keep reminding yourself every morning for a few minutes just what it is that you want to be feeling. And there are multiple ways that you can use this. First of all, you can use this to see if the goals that you're pursuing are actually in alignment with the feelings that you want, because sometimes they'll be out of alignment, right? Maybe right now what you're pursuing is you're pursuing a new business, and you think that what you really want is a new business. And so you're working really hard at it, and it's stressing you out. You're spending a lot of time doing that. But really, the top feeling that you want to be feeling is maybe something like love. Or the top feeling that you want to be feeling is you want to be feeling something like adventure. And maybe your business is not really giving you much adventure. Maybe there's a more direct route to adventure than starting a business. Maybe the more direct route is taking road trips with your spouse on the weekends. And therefore you satisfy both the love and the adventure feelings. And you're not spending so much time building a business which is getting you what? It might be getting you money, it might be getting you other things, which could be good, but maybe they're just not that important to you right now. Maybe they're not a priority. So this is a way to look at the tangible goals that you set for yourself and seeing if they really align. So that's a really powerful way to use this. Another way to use this that I talk about in other Blueprint videos is to kind of force your mood. I have this idea that I took from Brendon Burchard, and he talks about the idea that mood is not something that should be happening to you, but something that you should be enforcing on yourself and on the external world. So these top 5 feelings are a way to do that, because now you have targets for what you want your mood to be, right? When I wake up in the morning, I can tell myself, I want to feel proud. I want to feel excited. I want to feel tranquil. And I can force those moods on myself just by thinking about certain things and using various mental techniques that we talk about in other videos. So that can be another powerful way to use it. I want you to be very familiar with the feelings that you want to feel, because all the goals that you're going to be doing and all the goals you're going to be setting for years and years to come should really be coming through, and you should be filtering first through your filter of feelings, and then you can have the external goals that you have, and those are great. But anyways, this is going to wrap it up here. Go ahead and share your comments. Do this exercise. It should be a quick and easy one. I'm going to have worksheets down below in the article that you can download. It makes things even easier for you. And then go ahead and share your comments. What are your top 5 feelings? The positive ones and then also the negative ones. How consistently are you following up on those? And then, of course, if you find this valuable and you do this exercise, share it with a friend. Send them here so that they can also benefit from this exercise. All right, this is Leo signing off.